All right, let's dive deep into one of the most amazing processes happening inside you right now. We're going on the incredible journey of a meal. We're going to follow that food from the very first bite all the way to its final destination and uncover the mind-blowing chemistry that turns food into, well, you. I mean, really think about it. It's something we do every day and totally take for granted. You eat a sandwich, right? And then, a little while later, that sandwich is literally powering your brain, letting you move, letting you live. How in the world does that actually happen? How does your body crack open that food and pull out all the good stuff? That's exactly what we're going to figure out.
So here's our game plan. First, we'll meet the key players in what I like to call the digestive gauntlet. Then we're going to break down how we handled the big three: carbohydrates, proteins, and fats. And finally, we'll see how they cross that finish line and actually get into our system.
Okay, so our journey starts in the gastrointestinal system. You can picture it as this long, winding arena, and any food that enters has to run a gauntlet, facing off against some seriously powerful chemical agents designed to just tear it apart piece by piece. To get this job done, our body has three main tools in its toolbox. First up, you've got hydrochloric acid down in the stomach. We're talking about a seriously harsh environment. Then you have enzymes. Think of these as tiny molecular scissors that snip apart big molecules. And they come from everywhere: your salivary glands, your stomach, your pancreas. And last but not least, we've got bile, which comes from the liver. This is our special weapon for dealing with fats. So let's kick things off with our first nutrient, carbohydrates. From stuff like bread, pasta, fruit. This is the body's favorite source of quick energy. But here's the catch. Your body can't just use a big, complex starch molecule as is. It has to crack the code first. And this whole process starts the second you take a bite. There's an enzyme in your saliva called amylase that immediately starts snipping those long starch chains, the polysaccharides, into smaller bits. The job continues in the small intestine thanks to more amylase from the pancreas, creating these little intermediate chains. And then, for the final cut, enzymes right on the surface of your intestinal cells, they call it the brush border, finish the job, freeing up simple sugars like glucose that your body can finally absorb. So what happens if one of those little molecular scissors is missing? Well, that's pretty much exactly what lactose intolerance is. If you have it, you're missing lactase, which is one of those crucial final step enzymes on the brush border. Without it, the sugar in milk just can't get broken down or absorbed, and that's what causes all the trouble. It really shows you how important every single one of these little tools is. Okay, so once we've got these simple sugars, how do they actually get into our blood? Well, it turns out not all sugars use the same door. Glucose and galactose, they need a special escort. They have to grab on to a sodium ion to get through the door, and that takes energy. It's an active process. Fructose, on the other hand, it's kind of got a VIP pass. It gets its own private entrance that doesn't cost any energy at all. It's a passive process. So yeah, two different sugars, two totally different ways of getting in. All right, next on the list, proteins. These are the building blocks for, well, pretty much everything. Your muscles, your enzymes, you name it. And breaking them down is a bit more heavy duty than dealing with carbs. This whole operation starts in the stomach. Hey, remember that hydrochloric acid we talked about? This is its time to shine. That super acidic environment flips a switch and activates a really powerful enzyme called pepsin. Pepsin is the first one in, and it just starts hacking away at those big, complex protein structures, chopping them up into smaller, more manageable chains called polypeptides. Now, this next part is it's beautiful. It's one of the most elegant systems in the whole body. Your pancreas sends a whole team of protein-busting enzymes into the small intestine, but they all arrive turned off, which is a good thing. You don't want them digesting the pancreas on the way. It all comes down to one little enzyme on the intestinal wall that acts like a master switch. It activates an enzyme called trypsin, and once trypsin is on, it just goes on a rampage, turning on all the other enzymes. It's this perfect, controlled chain reaction. And the body is just so incredibly thorough to make sure not a single protein fragment gets away. That final breakdown happens in 3 different places. It happens out in the main intestinal space, it happens right on the surface of the cells that do the absorbing, and for any little bits that manage to sneak through, the job even gets finished inside the cells themselves. It's like a triple check system just to be as efficient as possible. Okay, we've dealt with carbs and proteins, which both dissolve in water. But now we get to the trickiest customer of all, fats. As we all know, fat and water do not mix, and our entire digestive system is a watery place. So our body needs a really clever solution for this problem. I mean, that's the fundamental question, right? You've seen this yourself a million times if you've ever looked at salad dressing. The oil and the vinegar just separate. So how does our body stop all the fat we eat from just clumping together into one giant, useless blob that we can't digest?
The answer is bile. Bile acids create these amazing little structures called micelles. And the best way to think of a micelle is as a tiny delivery taxi for fat. The outside of the taxi loves water, but the inside is all cozy and loves fat. This lets it package up all the little bits of broken down fat, drive them through the watery environment of the intestine, and drop them off right at the doorstep of our intestinal cells. So what's riding inside these little taxis? All the passengers are the broken down pieces of fat. You've got fatty acids, monoglycerides, and other stuff like cholesterol, all bundled up inside, safe and sound for their trip to the intestinal wall. But once they're dropped off, the story takes another weird turn. Inside the intestinal cell, all those fat pieces are put back together. They're reassembled and then packaged into a new, much larger particle called a chylomicron. Now, these guys are way too big to get into the tiny blood vessels, so instead, they take a different route. They enter the lymphatic system, which is kind of like a parallel highway system that runs alongside our bloodstream, to start their journey to the rest of the body.
So everything has been broken down into its smallest parts. We've reached the final frontier, absorption. And this is where we find some of the most surprising things about just how smart and efficient our gut really is.
Get ready for a fact that's probably going to blow your mind a little. Where does all the protein that your intestine digests actually come from? You'd think, from food, right? 100%. Nope. Only about half of it is from the food you eat. The other half actually comes from your own body. It's from all the protein-based digestive juices you secrete and from old intestinal cells that get shed and recycled. Your body is literally digesting and reusing itself all the time. Wild, isn't it?
And that leads to another fascinating point. You see, while our digestive system is incredible, it isn't 100% perfect. Every now and then, tiny little bits of undigested protein can slip through the cracks. When that happens, our immune system can spot them and label them as foreign invaders. So the next time you eat that food, the immune system launches a defense, and boom, you've got an allergic reaction. That's the actual basis for how food allergies work. And that just leaves us with this final, amazing thought. Your gut is not just a food processor, it's a sensory organ. It is constantly sampling the outside world that we're putting into our bodies, and it's making critical decisions about what's a friend and what's a foe. It just makes you wonder, what else is this incredible system learning about our environment, and how is it shaping our health in ways we are only just beginning to understand?